Welcome to the Nevis Newscast for Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. The following is a notice from the Office of the Premier. Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, is away on official duties in Tortola. Premier Brantley departed the Federation on Monday, November 10th, and is expected to return on Thursday, November 13th, 2025. During this period, the Honourable Eric Evelyn will act as Premier. Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, will host his next press conference on Tuesday, November 25th. The press conference will be held at the Cabinet Room on the second floor of the Social Security Building at Pinneys Estate. Premier Brantley will provide an update on matters pertaining to Nevis, and members of the press will have the opportunity to ask questions. The Premier's press conference will be broadcast live from 10 a.m. on Nevis Television, NTV, Nevis Television Facebook page, and Nevis Newscast YouTube channel. The Nevis Disaster Management Department was the recent recipient of more than $24,000 in grant funding. That disclosure was made by the Honourable Spencer Brand during his statement as Minister responsible for disaster management during the November 6th sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly.
And I am extremely happy to report, Madam President, that the Nevis Disaster Management is the recipient of a US $24,500 grant under the United States Southern Military Command, or SOUTHCOM, minimum cost project. And Madam President, why is this important with all that is happening in the United States when we are hearing that the US government is actually shut down? But here it is that due to the efforts of our team at our Nevis Disaster Management, we have been able to receive grant funding in the amount of $24,500 that would help, Madam President, the Nevis Disaster Management.
Minister Brand noted that the Nevis Disaster Management Department's request for grant funding was submitted prior to the start of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season.
When we look, Madam President, at what has transpired in Jamaica, we realize that while we are grateful for this grant, we must all be mindful that one hurricane can cause significant damage. I want to say, Madam President, that while we continue to pray for our brothers and sisters in Jamaica, I want us to always be vigilant that it can only take one hurricane that can create significant damage to these islands in the Caribbean.
Minister responsible for disaster management, the Honourable Spencer Brand. Still to come, St. Kitts and Nevis secures early warning system for extreme weather and climatic events. I'll be right back with the details after this break.
Greetings, everyone. I am the Honourable Spencer Brand, Minister with responsibility for communications, public works, water services, physical planning and environment, disaster management, post and labour in the Nevis Island Administration. I am indeed delighted to offer congratulations to the Nevis International Financial Services industry. Government revenue generated from this industry has made significant contribution to the development of our island over the past 4 decades, and we expect that the revenue will continue to ensure that our island continue to develop. Infrastructure such as roads, electricity, and water have seen remarkable improvement over the last 4 decades. I wish to embrace the success of the Nevis International Financial Services industry, which has redounded to the success of the livelihoods of the people of Nevis. Happy 40th anniversary and congratulations.
Welcome back. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis, with the assistance of the government of Italy, is investing in early warning systems to secure nationals from intensified hurricanes and storms fueled by climate change. Eustace Wallace, Minister Councillor and Second Committee Lead at the Permanent Mission of St. Kitts and Nevis to the United Nations, and Dr. Elric Francis of the Ministry of Environment and Climate Action recently attended the Italy CARICOM Joint Commission on Sustainable Development, where they advocated for the early warning system for St. Kitts and Nevis. The Early Warnings for All initiative aims to ensure that everyone, everywhere, is protected by life-saving early warning systems by 2027. The Global Status Report on Early Warning Systems assesses that countries with a substantive to comprehensive early warnings coverage have disaster mortality 8 times lower than countries with limited coverage. According to the Global Commission on Adaptation, giving just 24 hours notice of an impending hazardous event can reduce damage by 30%. Investing just $800 million in such systems in developing countries would prevent losses of $3 to $16 billion annually. The Department of Marine Resources in St. Kitts and Nevis is urging volunteers to participate in a coastal cleanup and mangrove planting on Friday, November 14th. Minister of Fisheries, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, says the exercise is one in a series of activities the department is hosting in a celebration of Fisheries Month.
The coastal cleanup will be done here on Nevis. It will be done at the Jessops Beach, and it's dubbed Sandy Hands, Clean Hands. It starts at 9:30 next Friday, and so we're asking for volunteers to come out and support the beach cleanup. For more information, you contact the Department of Marine Resources. They're at Prospect. Of course, we know that a lot of littering takes place on our beaches. And what happens is that when the litter is on our beaches, most of the times it ends up in the ocean. And of course, we know what has been happening with litter in the ocean. It's causing damage to our coral reefs. It's causing plastics to build up in the ocean. Our fish and our other marine species consume those microplastics, and then we in turn consume those marine species, and then we get microplastics in our systems, which you understand are carcinogenic and can cause cancer. And so any beach cleanup that is announced, we should try as much as possible to support it. So I'm asking members of the general public to support the beach cleanup at Jessops Bay next week, Friday the 14th of November.
Fisheries Month commenced on November 2nd with a service at the Antioch Baptist Church, a cooler bag promotion on November 3rd, and a visit by the St. Eustatius Marine Reserve to the Fisheries Co-op on November 8th. The other activities include a value-added products workshop on November 12th, a fish handling workshop on November 20th, Wear Blue Day on November 21st, a Wahoo fishing tournament on November 22nd, fisheries storytelling in schools on November 25th, and a fish fry on November 28th. And that's it for this edition of the Nevis Newscast. On behalf of all of us here at the Department of Information, I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Thank you for viewing.